I step into the studio every week to make a painting. The only rule is I have to like, in some way, the finished piece. That's one of the creative challenges some artists face. Inevitably, sometimes you'll end up with a piece that just doesn't work. And this past week is all about that. Some fails and some lessons along the way. There is no artist in the world free from these challenges, no matter how accomplished they are. This week, I had two options, to destroy it or to keep it. Younger me would have impulsively thrown it away, started over, and pretended it never happened, as if I only ever made great art. But if you are wise, you set it aside, you learn from it, and then you start again. Keep the original messed up piece. You'll need it to learn what is out of place and what's breaking the harmony you're searching for. It's tempting to toss it out of frustration. Sometimes, with time and distance, you find a way to transform that failed painting into something meaningful. As artists, we inevitably create work we don't like now and then. That's part of the process, and the real value, I think, lies in the lessons along the way. I think it's also important not to obsess too much over a single artwork. It's the journey, the one that represents the entire point of art making. I love my art, not because it's good or because it's bad, but because I am able to record my story in it. Each piece becomes a reference point I can return to, a step in my growth as an artist. The majority of time, I actually prefer the earlier stages of a painting rather than the finished result. Something about the unfinished look ends up being more raw and instinctive. I like the emptiness of those spaces that were left blank, where color didn't touch. I like the roughness of the darker outline I do right at the beginning. I think it gives some depth and it makes the brighter parts pop even more. Up to this point, I am absolutely loving the process, but the further I go, the more I risk losing that spark. And honestly, it's often because somehow, at times, I get lost in the process and I forget to take breaks. And pausing is essential. It serves as moments of reflection and observation. With this particular painting, I felt the composition was unbalanced. The strong horizontal cut across the piece felt intimidating, since I usually work with more angled forms. And that line dividing top and bottom was emphasized even more by the quiet, contrasting colors I chose, warm tones above, cool shades below. Not a wrong choice in itself, but in my practice, I've come to love scattering shades across the surface rather than isolating them into blocks. The acidity of some shades don't match the sweetness of others, and the overall rainbow effect just didn't sit right with me. I brought in oil pastels, as I always do. I find they add a velvety effect to the piece and they soften up the edges. And it is a chance to bring it all together with just a couple of touches, but even then, it didn't quite work, and that's okay. And it is normal to be self-critical and to dislike some of our work, especially as our skills and artistic taste evolve. Not every piece will succeed, but even the ones we dislike are part of the path. There is a great value and satisfaction in the effort, in the growth, and in the act of creating itself. Next week, I'll be back with a second attempt at this painting. I will return to the same subject with fresh eyes, a clearer sense of what I want, and the lessons I've just learned here. I want to see if I can shift the composition, balance the colors differently, and maybe bring out the feeling I was originally searching for. And I'd love for you to join me in that process. So until next week.